Sports fans for years now have been suffering through Stephen A. Smith's approach to journalism and media in a style that can only be described as the insane ramblings of a madman, somebody who has lost touch with reality. And in some ways, we're kind of used to that in sports media. But when it comes to current events, things that are happening in the world, people outside of the sports space are being introduced to that same approach. It's a lot less hee hee ha ha, what an idiot, when he's talking about a U.S. citizen being murdered by their government on camera.
Seeing what transpired from a lawful perspective, as it pertains to a law enforcement official, don't expect him to be prosecuted. He was completely justified. From a humanitarian perspective, however, why did you have to do that? If you could move out the way, that means you could have shot the tires. That means you could have got her a few feet away after you shot the tires. And if you were unsuccessful in doing that, you could have got her down the road. She wasn't driving down the road coming at you 90 miles an hour. She was parked in the middle of the street. And rather than get out the car, she wrongfully tried to drive off and wrongfully disregarded law enforcement official, which is exactly what ICE is.
Court rulings have argued that ICE practices are unconstitutional, particularly concerning violations of the Fourth Amendment, unreasonable search and seizure, and due process, especially when detaining citizens or non-citizens without proper judicial review, probable cause, or neutral oversight. They also don't have to identify themselves. There's lack of neutral review. There's unlawful raids. ICE, as it is operating right now, is an unconstitutional law enforcement agency. A rogue, unconstitutional law enforcement agency isn't legally justified in doing anything. But let's do a thought experiment here. Let's say they were operating within the bounds of the Constitution. Even if they were legally justified in trying to detain Renee Nicole Good, fleeing from law enforcement or failure to comply with law enforcement are not punishable with the death penalty. And even if fleeing from law enforcement or failure to comply with law enforcement were punishable with the death penalty, that would not be decided by the arresting officers. It would, like any other death penalty sentence, have to be determined through due process. The judge and the jury would determine how and when that death penalty was doled out. The arresting officer is neither judge nor jury nor executioner. Even with all the hypotheticals I've put in place, there is still no world where it is legally justified to shoot an innocent, unarmed person 3 times through a car window because they are not complying with you. And let me be crystal clear. I've been talking about this for years. And the reason I've been talking about this for years is because we've been watching it happen to Black Americans for years. This exact thing and this exact justification coming from all of the usual suspects. So someone clearly needs to tell Stephen A. Smith that a rogue law enforcement agency murdering a U.S. citizen is not really up for debate in the same way that, I don't know, defensive pass interference is. And even if it were, he'd get that wrong fucking too.